It's thinking, apparently. I don't know what it's doing.
Do 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 do.
1 2 1 2, need my attitude. 3 4 3 4, check my latitude. Ooh, I like that. Ooh, I like that.
Good morning. Good morning. It is Wednesday and we're a couple minutes late. I feel like my computer has went slow all morning and I had a Kit Kat for breakfast. So that's just showing you how my morning is starting out.
I like that. I posted the other day that because I've been working nights, like I'll get home, I'll have breakfast, which is technically probably my dinner. I go to sleep and then I wake up and I eat a bowl of ice cream. Like
Hey,
as an adult, I can take a nap and then have ice cream. So
as an adult, we get to make our own dang decisions. Okay. So one person is already watching us. I don't know.
it's probably
Is
my
that
mom.
you on another computer?
No, I
Okay.
don't have the setup yet. I'm still working on the new office setup, so
No, that's all right. Just so you know, if you are watching, Brittany used to do that every once in a while, just have like another computer watching us to make us feel like, oh, somebody loves us. But this is good. Somebody actually loves us. So that's good. So today we have kind of a downer of a topic, but
if my mom is watching, I was trying to tell her this. I did not tell her that on the phone. I was going to tell her afterwards. I just realized that
we're going to tell the world something that mom doesn't know yet.
Yes.
Okay.
I should have told her while I was on the phone with her.
Should we pause and you call mom and then we come back?
No, we're here. We're here.
Okay. So our topic today is a little bit of a downer of a topic, but I want to spin it a little bit because the downer of a topic that we're going to get to in a minute, everybody deals with this, whether it's on a small scale or the larger scale that Brittany's dealing with at the moment, but we all deal with it. So Brittany, what is our topic of the day?
Sarah had a great post around mourning the loss of a job, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how mourning the loss of a job is the exact same thing as mourning the loss of a person. And so last night I was informed that my grandma had passed away, and that was kind of the lead into where Sarah was like, oh, that's what we can talk about this week, because it does fit inside of the conversation. And so, and I think that there is, once Sarah starts talking about it, once you guys start listening, you're going to hear that that is definitely a connection inside of those spaces. But also, there's a time where we already know, right? We're already aware of what's happening. And even at work, sometimes you can see when your endpoints hit, right? So I think that that's, just something that we're all working with right now. And mom, I'm sorry that I didn't tell you when I was on the phone with you 2 seconds ago. I was trying to be the good kid and do it at it. I called her last night.
Well, I don't think, here's the thing. I don't think she's going to be upset with you. I think she's going to probably wish you just would have blurted it out on the call or on a voicemail, but that's beside the point. So grief, yeah. And I don't want to necessarily focus on people that have passed away in our lives with this conversation, but that's the extreme situation of grief, right? Like that person that you've had for so long in your life, good, bad, or indifferent, when they leave, it causes you to go through all the stages of grief, right? But one of the examples that you gave is on a little bit of a, definitely a smaller end. When you get laid off or when you have to lay somebody off, which is the example you gave, it hurts both sides. And I know people are like, hey, leadership just, fires willy-nilly and they don't care and da 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 da. But I've had it happen, and you've had it happen, where the leadership that had to do that actually doesn't want to. They want you to be successful. They want to keep you. They don't want to have to fire you and go through the process of hiring somebody else who's probably a moron. You get my point? Like, we don't know. They probably are, though, right? But the concept is
Nobody can fill your shoes.
Nobody can fill your shoes. Ironically, they can. But there's still an emotional attachment because you've worked with this person for 6 months, 2 years, whatever the case is. And as a leader, letting them go, there's that emotional attachment that you're just like, couldn't they have just done their flipping job better so I could have kept them around because I like them as a human? But liking somebody as a human doesn't make somebody good at their job, right?
Yeah, exactly. And here's the thing, right? Like right now, just me personally, I'm trying to transfer to a different store because there's a clash in personalities. We just had to let somebody go because they were great at, hey, I can clean, I can stock, I can do the back of end stuff. But then when it came to customer service, that skill hasn't been fully developed yet. And it's a detriment to business when customer service is the 99% of that business, right? Which it's probably 70%. But when you're looking at a job, you really have to look at, if I lose it, sometimes there's a lot of growth, right? We've lost jobs, we've been fired, we've processed forward. I've had to deal with office politics, and that's what I lost jobs over, is office politics. And so I do my very best to make sure that I avoid any space that has office politics. And that's one of those big things where you start to learn, what do I want in a career? What do I want in a workplace? Where do I fit in and where can I manage, right? And so when you lose your job, that first step, what's the first step of grief, Sarah?
Oh, denial, but
denial, right? So we're stuck in, oh, well, it wasn't me. Oh, well, it wasn't fair. Oh, well, it wasn't this. We start to deny all of the things. So when you're stuck in that space, start looking at, like, what comes from this, right? If they're saying I got fired for A, B, and C, right? Sometimes it's, hey, we have to make money cuts. There's nothing on your work. There's nothing on you on your work level. There's nothing that had nothing to do with you. That was a corporate decision. That was a business decision. There's nothing for you to take away from that, correct? Call and make sure you're getting your letters of, you make sure you get those letters, right? Start doing those things. But then if it's, hey, you just didn't do this, we had to write you up for these things a few times. Okay, what about me didn't change that, right? What about me made it to where I couldn't overcome that space? Right now, I'm trying to transfer out because I don't know how to tolerate a person. And if you don't know how to tolerate a person, that makes your job a very difficult place to be. You don't want to go to work. You don't want to be in those spaces. So for me, I have to figure out, how do I personally grow to learn to tolerate more people, right? There's a joke in there. There's a huge joke in there somewhere.
But I think, and there might be, but I think you're onto something, because it's the concept of knowing yourself and knowing where you work and knowing your limitations, or how I should say how you work and knowing your limitations. So like, how do I say this? So I worked in a customer service role for 6 years of my life, 2 years in high school and 4 years in college. And it was at Wendy's, and I loved it. It was fine, right? Because it was the only real job I knew at that point. But then I found out there were jobs, Brittany, that you actually don't have to deal with humans all day, every day.
Yep.
And for the most part, the fact that I'm in leadership development and human resources, and the fact that I really don't like humans all that much, is kind of a joke in and of itself. But find how you work. right? In knowing yourself, knowing that you have that option to move somewhere else, move to another store, right? Or move to another job, and you have that flexibility in your head to say it's not always about me, right? This is, I can make it better for everyone if I choose to just move away from this person instead of murdering them and ending up in prison, and that just hurts the whole family, and it's bad. Lots of
Yeah.
paperwork.
Well, and here's the thing, when you're looking at that situation, right, and you're looking at sorry, I had it right on I knew what I wanted to say right there. When you look at, hey, customer service people and managing this kind of people, that's a lot different than I'm in HR and I'm managing the structure
Yeah.
of how we treat people, right? And that's a huge difference. Like for me, I'm in a customer service position, love the customer service position, but I'm having an issue with the working with somebody, right?
Sure.
And so when you look at it and you can break it down, you can really see the different dynamics of what does that look like. And if I'm somebody who I like customer service, I'm great at customer service, but it still gets under my skin, or I'm somebody who's antsy and I really get agitated when I'm front and center, that's when you look at, well, can I go to the background, right?
Mhm.
Can I go into a department where I can manage the policies and procedures? Because yeah, you still people, but you people it on a level of management, right? That's a whole different level than being the peon at the bottom, right?
Yeah.
And then also it's a level of I can stand on structure, I can stand on legality, right? You can't call people names and I can call you out for calling people names. You can't yell in people's faces and I can, assert that difference. And I can, but when I talk to you, I'm going to talk to you like a human of, hey, you've been very aggressive towards your coworkers. You've been very aggressive towards customers. We need to figure out how to dial that back, how to have those conversations. And so that's a different type of peopling. And it comes from a different space and it uses different skills. So, like you said, yeah, I didn't like that, but I do like this and I still people. They're different levels, and that's where you get to
Mhm.
kind of pick and choose, right?
Well, and I kind of want to bring this back to what I don't know if it was the original topic. You and I always go off on little tangents, but we talked about the stages of grief or whatever, and we talked about denial, right? But I want to go back to actually losing your job and having that as part of your life. And so grieving, I am not a grief specialist. If you are grieving about something, please call a grief specialist. I'm just going off on what I know. So whether you lose a human in your life or you lose a job, there's still that grieving process, but you can't let it take over your life forever, right? You have to go through the steps. You have to say, okay, I lost my job. You go through denial and anger first, right? You're like, hey, not my fault, da 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 da, wasn't me, all them, right? And then you get mad, right? Like, dang it, I have to file for unemployment. You just hate the government, you hate the job, you hate everybody, right? Like you eat too much chocolate cake for a week. I get it, right? Like all that happens. But then you have to say, while this happened to me, I have to start my steps to move ahead, right? I can't let this impact my whole life. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because this last week I was talking to somebody who lost a major job, like a very core part of themselves, basically, about 4 years ago. They were there for, I don't know, it was like 15 years they were at this job. And they lost it 4 years ago. And still to this day, when I talked to them, actually it was end of last week, now that I look at the calendar, they were still like, I hate them. They ruined my life. They are horrible people. And like basically it's still impacting them today, how they're dealing with jobs today.
Yeah.
And I don't know what my thoughts are, except you can't let it take over your life. Your job is a part of who you are, but it's not who you are.
Yeah, and at some point, the conversation changes from I lost this job to the job market is saturated or
Sure.
people are, there comes a point to where, yes, I will admit, like sometimes when you lose a job, you lose everything and anything because of how money was managed, because of, we could
Yeah,
talk about the cost of living, right? When losing a job can be a detrimental, massive loss. And
100%.
there is a lot, and it can be something that's very hard to come back from, especially trying to get a job at the same level that you were at, because sometimes you have to work internally in companies to get to where you were. Sometimes there's, people who we've had this conversation, they won't hire you because you're overqualified. There's a lot of reasons for you to not be back where you were, right? And to put the blame on, well, I lost that job, and to hold that conversation does shift as to why I'm not working, right? Well, I'm bitter, so I'm not hired. I'm not applying to this. I'm this, so I'm not. Yeah, I personally won't go work in an office because I want to run my online business once I get a little bit more settled. I personally have reasons why I won't take jobs that will, do those things. But when you can look at what am I doing personally for myself,
Mhm.
right? But also, am I hindering myself, right? Look at that, because at some point it's no longer I lost the job. Now it becomes, is the market saturated? What are these things that I'm trying to accomplish? Or maybe I'm reaching too far, or different things like that. And so the conversation does shift. And if we don't shift with the conversation, then we're not really aware of how to fix the current problem, right?
Yeah, and it's all about, I think there's a level too of talk to people in your life instead of complain to people in your life. And I know that's easier said than done in those first two levels of the grieving process, right? Like, I get it. You lose your job, all you want to do is shout it from the rooftops that the world sucks, right? And you got to go through that process. But eventually talk to people, right? This person that I'm explaining, even 4 years later, all they wanted to do was complain about that job, right? And if you're still doing that, if you're still complaining 4 years later, you're not moving ahead. And so not only did they ruin your life back then, which they could have, right? I don't know if losing her job was that detrimental at that point, right? But 4 years later, you've either chosen to better yourself, chosen to move on, or you're still living in a mindset that's never going to let you move on. And I want people to find that dream job of theirs, right? Or that dream path, right? And I know I use the word path a lot, but it's because everybody has a different path. None of us are walking in the same path as everybody else. Even if we have the same exact job and we marry a twin, okay? Like, it's still going to be a different path. Um and you have to say, is my path ending or diverging, or am I going to just move ahead and just do it slowly? You got to pick something though, because if it's ending, that is not a way to, that's not even survival instincts. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think, like I said, if you can't change what the perspective is, if you can't move with that, even in business, we're coming up to different challenges as business owners. And, you and I talk about this. You close businesses all the time because of whatever, and you have to move forward. But you want to look at what is the current situation? What is today's issue? Not this happened to me, because yeah, that happened, but now we're moving forward. Now something different is creating that block. Something different is, and so if we can't move with that and we can't grow with that and be aware of it, you can't. If you're so stuck on I lost a job, you're not rewriting a resume. If you're so stuck on I lost a job, you're not looking at the jobs that are around what that is. Or maybe you didn't like that job in the first place, and so you are resentfully applying for jobs, and people know when you're just phoning it in, right?
Yeah.
People know when you show up to an interview, and it just had a reel pop into my head. There's a really good reel about interviews with The Daily Show. Anyways, people know when you phone it in. People know when you are just applying to apply. So really take the time to find where that passion is and to find what works best for you.
Well, and just remember, for the love of Pete, I know that we're now going down a tangent. I'm fine with that. But please remember that just because you're good at something does not mean it's the job for you. Okay? Yeah. There are a lot of things I'm good at that I could never imagine myself doing that job. Right? And so, along that same line, the job you hate, the one that you're sitting in right now, that you're like, if you're watching this, I hate my job. I wish I didn't have my job, but I needed to pay the bills. What's stopping you from applying to other jobs? Because the job you're sitting in is someone else's dream job. They're waiting for that. Okay. So that job that you're like, I hate it here, and I'm just phoning it in. Hey, Donna.
Good morning, Donna. Good evening, Donna. It's super late your time.
It's super late for you. Yeah. So just remember that, like, if you're sitting there struggling and you're like, I just need this to pay my bills, start applying to jobs that you're going to love, because that job you hate, somebody else wants it.
Yeah.
And I'll use your example, right? You're moving because of a clash in personality, I guess we'll say is the word, right?
Yeah.
Somebody else is going to get along with that person like there's no tomorrow. Right?
Yeah, and
they're going to be best work buddies or something. And
right,
and
I've worked in jobs where personalities have clashed and people have been forced out. I've been a person that's been forced out, right? And in this situation, I'm like, look, they want to be who they are. I can simply transfer myself, right? I can simply remove myself from this situation. I don't have to write a letter to HR. I don't have to do any of this stuff, and I've had somebody who was like, well, why don't you just, report this? Because like like when we just had to let somebody go and my boss was like, I don't want to fire people because they pay their rent, they're looking for apartments, they're doing these things. Yeah, see, it's midnight. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So technically, I mean, you and I are up at midnight all the time. I'm up at midnight all the time. But so it's not a let me get this person written up and let me force this person out of their job, right? There's alternatives. There's things that I can do that maintains myself, as well as I acknowledge that I don't have the personality to adjust to this. Mm-hmm. And that was something that I had to figure out as well, as to, well, why? Right? Why do I have such a problem with this particular situation? And what I figured out is I got hired and I worked for 2 months. In 2 months, you build a work pattern. Yeah. You work with different people and you understand how they work. So you know what toes, you know where you're stepping on toes, you know where you're not stepping on toes. And then when a new dynamic comes in, then you have to manage, okay, we have a new dynamic, how do we work together? Unfortunately, in this situation, there isn't a work together, right? It's
You've
not
tried, you've been there.
Tried it. I've done it. Right. I have had the manager have conversations. There is no, you can't hear what I say, right? And sometimes at this point, I can't hear what they say. And so that's where you're like, okay, clash in personalities. Let me adjust my job so that nobody's losing work. Let me adjust what I can do so that we're all stable ground. And like you said, other people can work well with that person. And so you just kind of maintain and manage in that way. And you do what you can, but sometimes it's not worth the comeback, right? Sometimes that write up, sometimes those things, all you're doing is causing that can they pay rent this month conversation. And I don't want to do any of that.
No. And I think that there's a difference, and you don't have to use this example again if you have other examples that, but for me in the past, there's been a huge difference between I don't get along with somebody, but life will go on. And it truly, like, I can make a move, I can like deal with them less. I can just, we don't take lunch at the same hour or something, right? Or there is a concept, it's actually a toxic environment, right? If this person that, in this example, but you can use others, if this person was truly a toxic person, that you're like, if they stay here, they're going to bring down the whole company. That's when you're like, no, they can't work here, right? I need to report this, da da da. But if it's just between you and them, right? And you can see that they get along with other people, they're doing their job, and da 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 da. You don't have to ruin their life by getting them in trouble simply because of something is just a personality clash.
No.
Donna says, I agree. As an employer, it's hard to let people go, as you know how tough it is out there. Yeah, Donna is definitely an employer. She employs people at a, wow, I want to say it's not a planetarium. Did I just make that up? What is it? The thing you look in the sky at? It's not a planetarium though.
Observatory.
Observatory, dude. It was not coming to me. Thanings.
Yeah, and it's in the middle of nowhere.
It is in the middle of nowhere, which makes it hard for her people to get there. Yeah. So she has great employees, but with the economy right now, they're getting less and less people to the observatory. When the economy is good, people travel more and do these things. And it's hard to let people go when you know that they're looking at you like, well, now how am I going to make rent next month?
Yep. And in the case of Donna, right, if you had two people who were clashing, that's a really hard conversation because there are people who ironically fit in your specific mold of who do I need to work in here? Because you can't just have anybody in an observatory. You need people who are interested in science and the stars, and like they're interested in that forward growth.
This is the passion project, right? Like,
Yeah.
you have to have a passion to do this.
This is definite passion project. And so then you have to figure out, okay, they can't work together. How do I manage this schedule? How do I kind of like, where can I place one? Where can I place the other? Because you can't afford to lose people. You need the staffing, and you need their particular skill sets.
Mhm.
So where does that, then you look at that conversation from the employer's perspective. My boss asked me to give him a month with everything, and I sent him the message the other day, month isn't going to happen. Can't do it, right?
Sure. We
So
need it to happen quicker type thing.
There's so much that you have to look at when it comes to that space of why did I lose a job? Where, why do I have to shift? Why do I have to change? And I'm in therapy every week. Talking to the therapist, trying to figure out all the things in life, right? And you can only grow from those things. And you can only grow from loss. You can only grow from grief.
Yeah.
There's only a growth, but also you can sit stagnant. You can choose to not look at those things. You can choose to, like Sarah and I talked about before the call, the conversation of, hey, this has happened in our life, kind of moved into a different conversation of, hey, this is what's currently happening in our life aside from this, and maybe some changes need to be made, right? And so then you have to analyze and figure out some things, but look at go through your grief, allow yourself to grieve. There's 5 stages. Make sure you get through all of them. Don't stick in the angry, mad space, right?
And if it's not a therapist, some people are like, I can't deal with that, whatever. They're not ready for therapy, but at least talk to the people in your life. And here, I'm going to state some facts that everyone knows, but we don't think about. Okay. Before you die, other people will die in your life. I know we don't want to think about grandma or mom or our third cousin, right? Passing away, but it's the circle of life. And so if you don't talk about it when it happens, if you don't talk to the other people, then you're holding all of that inside, right? So if you don't feel comfortable talking to the people in your life, find a therapist. But it's the same thing with a job. Okay, if somebody tells you that they've never been fired, okay, they're either lying or one of the 10 super lucky people in this world.
Or
okay?
they
There's left before they got fired because there's
right. That's what I was going there, right? There's a few people who have like that tenure, right? There's a few people who've worked 50 years at the same company and nobody was able to shatter them, right? But I also feel like those days are the days of the old, right? I feel like those are also the days of we had 50 years of marriage. We had like, if you don't have one divorce under your belt and you're 40 by now, like you're doing something wrong.
Or something right, and you need to write a book.
Right, okay, exactly. And so we don't have those stories anymore. Back in the day, it used to be like you sat on the line and you worked the line, but now we have, mechanics came in and mechanisms and machines replaced a lot of those jobs. And now you have AI that's, coming in and adverting and adjusting things. We're always growing as a society. And so the chances that you have that 50-year run in one position is very difficult. Sometimes people are sly and they see, oh, I'm getting fired. I know it, right? We all know, we've all worked with that one person who was like, oh, I'm out. And so if they didn't get fired, they could be that little, oh, I'm out, right? There's so many different scenarios as to why you didn't get fired, and maybe you are a good employee and you worked and you were like, oh, I can grow now. Let me go get this job.
But I think the end all be all of this is that we've all went through something stupid that we've had to either grieve about or have a grief process about, even though we're not understanding where that's what we're going through. Like most people don't think they're grieving a job. They just think they're angry at their last employer. No, anger is the second stage of grief. So keep going. You'll get there eventually. But we need to talk about it. And Terry just said, love the real talk, right? Because and this isn't complain every day to your friends. That's not my point, right? But if you're not talking to somebody about it, it's going to eat you alive. That's where we're going to end. Okay. So talk to people about the things you're going through. We are at 32.
We made it to stage 3 of grief.
What?
So there's a part 2 to this because we've only made it to stage.
We only did denial and anger. We did not do bargaining, depression, or acceptance.
Come back next week because we got.
Maybe that's what we'll talk about.
Yeah, we're doing a part 2, guys. Hey, look at
that. We already have our topic for next
week's topic.
All right. I'm Sarah with Off the Beaten Path Consulting. You can find me anywhere if you search that. So I'm not going to go into what I do. Brittany, what do you do?
I am Brittany with BizStorming. I'm an accountability business coach, and this is Lila. She's got a new perch by the computer.
Wait. Before we do this, Donna said, I'm doing something right in my relationship-wise as we have only been with each other. We met in 1988. I'm obviously much older than you both. A little bit. You're a little bit older than us, but that's okay. And Donna, I'm telling you right now, you talk about different things. You need to write a book.
Yeah, because I have all the people.
Some stories. If you met somebody in 1988 and you're still together, either you guys are truly in love, or I've never seen him on camera, so maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's.
I feel like it's the farm life, though. I feel like the simplicity,
and it's not simple the whole time, though. She should confirm that with us later. We're ending now. But Donna, next time we talk to you, do you have the farm? Like, were you guys on the farm since like 1988? I don't think so. I don't know for sure. All right. Bye, everybody, because
Bye,
we can just
guys.
ramble now.
Dance fun.
One, two, need my attitude. 3, 4, 3, 4, check my latitude.